Chukma saholchifo fani iskano. See? Hello, my name is Little Squirrel, also known as Sherry Begay, and today we're going to be going over syllable division, which is a great key to pronouncing Chickasaw words. Last time we did a video on the sounds of Chickasaw with Uniscript to help with pronunciation, and this time we're going to cover syllable division, which isn't that difficult, but it's going to help you get a better pronunciation with your words. Okay, so let's dive into syllable division. Okay, syllable division, Chickasaw language. This is a great key to pronunciation. So I hope you'll bear with me. Don't check out if you think it's too complicated. You're going to get it. So just hang in there. All right, so let's look at the rules of Chickasaw language, syllable division. The rules are kind of opposite. When you start out with Chickasaw, you're going to be at the end of the word working backwards, as opposed to in English where you start at the front of the word and work to the end. So in Chickasaw, we start at the end of the word and we work backwards to the front. So that's rule number one, start at the end of the word. Rule number two is that you're going to look for the first vowel that you come to on your way to the front of the word. The next rule, rule number three, is you're going to look for the consonant in front of that vowel. And then rule number four is put a slash in front of the consonant. And then rule five is just repeat steps 2 through 4 until you get to the front of the word. And you can make a mantra out of it, which means that you're going to be saying vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, and you just continue all the way to the front of the word. All right, like I said, hang in there with me and let's do some examples together. So keep in mind these additional rules as you're doing syllable division. There is only one vowel per syllable. You might run into a long vowel, but remember, as we went over in the previous video about the sounds of Chickasaw, that a long vowel is shown with two of the same vowel, so that just counts as one vowel. So long vowels count as one vowel. Another thing to keep in mind that we went over in the previous video is CH, SH, and LH also count as one consonant each. So we would never break up LH or SH or CH because they count as one consonant. Another thing to remember is that a glottal stop counts as a consonant. Even though it's a catch in your throat, kind of the absence of sound, it still counts as a consonant. It's not a vowel. Also, another thing that you will run into is that we have affixes on our words and they may or may not be counted as their own separate syllable. So just a quick explanation of this is there's two types of languages, synthetic and analytic. So English is an analytical language and Chickasaw is a synthetic language, but it's so synthetic that it's polysynthetic. So it's on the other end of the spectrum from English. So English is analytical, meaning that it breaks everything into parts, whereas synthetic sticks everything together. So they might use a word like glutination or something like that. But synthetic is it synthesizes this stuff into something else or smushes it together. So we have words and then we just stack a bunch of affixes on them. So we can say a lot with one word that you would need many words to say in English. Just a little tiny example would be in English if I said, I am walking. I am walking is three separate words in English, but in Chickasaw, it's just one word, no wali. So I just stuck an affix on the word to walk and I ended up with I am walking, no wali. But that's for another lesson, so we won't go into that too much, just to let you know that sometimes there's affixes and they may or may not be their own separate syllables, but we'll just touch on that later in this lesson today about syllable division. Okay, so now let's look at some basic examples of syllable division. Okay, so let's take these words and divide them into syllables using the rules that we just learned. Let's take a look at akankoshi first. So akankoshi is an egg. So we'll start with the akankoshi, and rule number 1 is we're going to start at the end of the word. So rule number 1, we start at the end. Rule number 2, we look for a vowel. So we've got an I. Rule number 3, we look for the consonant right before the vowel. Rule number 4, we put a slash. And then rule 5, we just repeat 2 through 4. So our mantra is vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash, all the way to the front of the word. So vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash. Notice when we were starting on this one, we did our vowel, consonant, slash, and then we went vowel, and we just skipped right over this consonant because we weren't looking for a consonant, we were looking for a vowel. So vowel, consonant, slash. Now we find out that a akankoshi has 4 syllables. A, kan, ko, shi. Akankoshi. And you may recall from the previous video that A generally sounds like A in father, so A. O sounds like O in code, and I sounds like I in pit, so I, but I also gave examples of variations, and this one would be one, so it sounds more like an E, so a akankoshi. Great, so now we've done one word. Let's move on to chocolat. Chocolat means sugar. So chocolat, we're gonna, step 1, start at the end of the word and work backwards to the front. So we look for a vowel first because our mantra is vowel, consonant, slash. So vowel, consonant is L, and we put a slash. Mantra again, vowel, consonant is a K, put a slash. This is a long vowel, so it counts as just one vowel. And then we have a consonant here. The SH never gets broken up. And we're at the front of the word, so we don't need to put a slash. So chocolat has 3 syllables. So O like code. This will be show, co, la. Chocolat, chocolat. So chocolat is sugar. Let's look at pizza. Pizza means to be correct or right, or the direction right, which is kind of funny because that's the same thing in English. So correct and right. Step 1, we start at the end of the word, and then our mantra, vowel, consonant is an S, put a slash. Vowel, consonant, slash. Looking for a vowel, here's our vowel, and there's nothing in front of it, so we're done. And notice we jumped right over this consonant because we weren't looking for a consonant, we were looking for a vowel, and the long A counts as just one vowel. So pizza has 3 syllables. Pizza. Okay, remember from the previous video about Chickasaw sounds, the LH, to make that sound, you put your tongue to the roof of your mouth behind your teeth and then pull it back just to the part where your roof of your mouth starts to go up. So your tongue is right there, and then push the air and spit out the sides. So pizza. And that's how you get the LH sound, pizza. All right, correct. Let's move on to Akapasachi. Akapasachi is a refrigerator. So kapasa means to be cold or cool, and Akapasachi is a noun that means a refrigerator or a place that makes things cold. All right, so let's divide it up. We're going to step 1, start at the end of the word again. And then our mantra, vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash. So we're going to ignore the glottal stop, which is a consonant. Look for a vowel. Then our consonant is CH. It doesn't get broken up, just like SH and LH. Put a slash. Vowel, consonant, slash. So these S's didn't stay together. Just goes right after that. Vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash. Okay, we're done. We're at the front of the word, and all we have is a long vowel at the front. So ah, like father, ah, ka, pas, sa, chi. Akapasachi. Akapasachi. So if you just stopped right here, you would still improve a lot over your pronunciation because you've learned syllable division. But let's take a look at a few more things that go along with syllable division. Chickasaw language has something called rhythmic lengthening, and that depends a lot on heavy and light syllables. So you want to be able to look at the syllables and find out whether they are heavy or light. And it's not very hard at all. It's just simple. Let's take a look. Okay, here's the very simple rule about light and heavy syllables. Light syllables end in a short vowel. Light syllables end in a short vowel. So everything else is heavy. You don't have to remember all of the other rules around heavy syllables because if it isn't light, well, then it's heavy. Let's look at these words that I've divided right here and determine whether they are heavy or light. Okay, we've got a konkoshi, which we already divided, which means an egg. And let's find out, does this syllable end in a short vowel? Well, no, it doesn't because a glottal stop is at the end and that counts as a consonant. So this would not be considered a light syllable. Does this syllable end in a short vowel? This is the question you want to ask yourself every time you look at a syllable. Well, yes, it does. It just ends in a short vowel. A short vowel doesn't have any nasalization. It isn't lengthened. So this is a short vowel. Okay, does this syllable end in a short vowel? Well, no, it doesn't. It ends in a consonant. Does this syllable end in a short vowel? Yes, it does. It's only a short vowel, but it still ends in a short vowel. So this would be a light syllable, and this would be a light syllable. So these other ones would be heavy just by the mere fact that they are not light. Okay, that's really important to know. Moving on to another example. So we want to ask ourselves, does this syllable end in a short vowel? No, it doesn't. It ends in a glottal stop, which is a consonant, so it cannot be light. This one is the same as the other light syllable, KO. It ends in a short vowel, so it has to be light. Does this one end in a short vowel? Nope, it doesn't. It actually ends in a long vowel, so it cannot be a light syllable, so it must be heavy. Okay, let's look at this one. We didn't do this last time. This one's pishokchi. Pishokchi means milk. Pishokchi. If you divide it according to the rules we already went over, you end up with 3 syllables. Pishokchi. Okay, so we're going to ask ourselves, does this one end in a short vowel? Nope, it doesn't. It ends in a glottal stop, which is a consonant. Does this one end in a short vowel? No, it also does not. It ends in a K, which is a consonant. Does this one end in a short vowel? Yes, it does. So this one has to be light. This syllable is the only light syllable in the whole word. Let's look at this one. This is the word to walk, which I gave an example of earlier. Nowa. It has a nasal O here, and then, so that's why it's nowa through the nose. Okay, does this one end in a short vowel? Yes, it does. It's just an A. Does this one end in a short vowel? No, it doesn't, because O is nasalized. So it cannot be a light syllable. This one is a light syllable. It ends in a short vowel. This one is a heavy syllable because it is not light. And I don't want to go over all the rules about it because it's just confusing. It's just better to know if it's not light, well, then it's heavy. That's just the easiest way to remember it. Okay, so now that we know about heavy and light syllables, let's see how that affects rhythmic lengthening and pronunciation. Rhythmic lengthening, let's look at these examples on this page here. So we're going to start at the end of the word, just like the others. Look for a vowel and a consonant and a slash, then a vowel, consonant, and slash, vowel, consonant, and then we're done. All right, so then now we are going to start numbering this word. So if it's a light syllable, we're going to give it a number. So this one, starting at the beginning now for rhythmic lengthening, this one ends a short vowel, so it is a light syllable. So we're going to give it a 1. And then this one ends in a short vowel, so we're going to give it a 2 because it's the second one in a row. And then this one also ends in a short vowel, so we're going to give it a 3 because it's the third one in a row. So you're going to start numbering all the ones in a row. If they get broken up by another syllable, like a heavy one, then you have to restart your count. But these are all in a row, so the even numbered light syllable gets lengthened. So this syllable would get lengthened. So it's going to switch from being light to heavy. So this word, hopoba, you're pronouncing it as if there's an extra O, hopoba. There's another way to write the O, which would be like this, hopoba. So it's lengthened. And this means to be hungry. So when you pronounce it, hopoba, he's hungry, she's hungry. So now we know that this one has to be lengthened when you pronounce it. So it's not hopoba, it's hopoba. But let's see what happens when you say, he's making me hungry. So here we've got our base word, hopoba, but we've added to make on the end, and we've added myself on the end. So he's making me hungry, or she's making me hungry. First, let's divide it up. Vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash, vowel, consonant, slash. So now we need to find out. We've got to end in a short vowel, it's light. End in a short vowel, also light. Ends in a short vowel, also light. Ends in a short vowel, light. Ends in a short vowel, light. So all these syllables are light syllables. So we're going to start counting. We've got a 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, and 5 in a row. This is not really typical to see this many light syllables in a row, but I wanted to give you this good example so you could see. So now we know that the even numbered ones must be lengthened in the sequence. So we're going to change this ho. All right, so we're going to lengthen this one. So that line over the top shows you that that's lengthened. And then we're going to lengthen this one. So that line shows that it's lengthened. So now when we pronounce it, it's not sahopobachi, it's sahopobachi. 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 Can you see how that would change the pronunciation a lot? So sahopobachi. He's making me hungry. So that's an important point. Let's see. But what if I'm not on there? What's going to happen to this word hopobachi? Okay, so he's making her hungry, or she's making him hungry. Vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash. And we know that these are all light because we had just divided them up. So we'll start counting 1 in a row, 2 in a row, 3 in a row, 4 in a row. So now we know that po and chi would get lengthened, but here's another caveat of lengthening. We never lengthen the last one, even if it would be lengthened. All right, so let's lengthen this one so we know it's supposed to be long. So now our pronunciation is hopobachi, hopobachi. How does that compare to the one we had before? Sahopobachi, sahopobachi, hopobachi. So the po got lengthened, but previously it was the ho and the ba that got lengthened. So as you can see, these are really important to pronunciation. Okay, let's look at a few more examples. All right, so a few more examples we have here is chofata. And then we've got some affixes on here, so I wanted to show you how those work. Starting at the end of the word, vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, except for we don't need a slash because we're at the front of the word. All right, so chofata, does this one end in a short vowel? Yes, it does, so it's light. Does this one end in a short vowel? Yes, it does, so it's light. Does this one end in a short vowel? Yes, it does, so it's light. So now we need to number them. So 1 light, 2 light, 3 light. So we know that this one has to get lengthened. So fa is going to be lengthened. So we'll change the A to a lengthened A. Chofata, chofata would be the correct way to say this, chofata. So that gets lengthened, chofata. How about if we say, oh, I'm sorry, chofata means to be clean. Okay, so chi chofata is then going to be you are clean, which I guess means you cleaned yourself up. So we'll divide them up again, vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, and then this is you. That's the state of being. Okay, so these are all light. They all end in short vowels, every single one of them. So then we're gonna just start counting. 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light. And remember, we won't be lengthening the end one. We never lengthen the end, but the even numbered one that's going to need lengthening is this syllable here, cho. So cho, we'll go ahead and lengthen it. So chicho fata, you are clean, chicho fata. However, what happens if we add an ending on here at the end of chicho fata instead of you are clean? Tok is a past tense, so chicho fata tok, you were clean. Tok is kind of like similar to the ed ending, like in English, like worked or cleaned, similar to ed, but not exactly. Okay, so syllable division, we look for our vowel first, which is O, then a consonant slash, and then we're back to the same syllable division as before. And we've got a light syllable, ends in a short vowel, ends in a short vowel, ends in a short vowel, ends in a short vowel. This one is heavy, it ends in something other than a short vowel. Okay, so we're going to count just the short vowels. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we don't count that one. Now, because this one is not at the end anymore, it isn't even numbered light syllables, so it can get lengthened. So we're going to lengthen the even numbered light syllables. So now our word is pronounced chichofatatok, chichofatatok. You were clean, chichofatatok. So that's as far as I'm going to go today with that because I want it to sink in what you've learned so far. Just remember the basic rules of syllable division. And then if you try to work out the rhythmic lengthening, that is going to help your pronunciation. Also remember, if you run into a heavy syllable in the middle of your word, when you're counting light syllables, you're going to have to restart your count again. So you might end up with 4 light syllables, but none of them get lengthened based on where they are in the word. Okay, so now there's going to be some caveats to these syllable division. It has to do with affixes. As I mentioned before, Chickasaw is a polysynthetic language, so we have a lot of affixes. You can look in the Chickasaw Nompa Kilinompoli book. At the end, there's page 337 in prefixes and endings, and it will tell you whether an affix is a plus or a plyness affix. And a plus or a plyness affix will help determine whether it's going to get broken up or not. I can put a link in the description for that. So the plus affixes affect rhythmic lengthening, and the plyness affixes will need to be done separately, even though they might be divided within themselves. So let's see some examples. Let's take this word with the affixes stuck on it to give you an example. So anompali is the word to speak. Anompali, like in the title of the grammar book, Chikasha Nompa Kilinompali. So anompali means to speak. And then itimanompali means to read. So this is reading. So it's funny because I guess you're talking to each other, you in the book. It's just a way to look at it. Okay, so let's break this word down. We have anompali to talk, and then we have m at the front of anompali, so it's like talking to, and it's a plyness affix, so it's going to have to be by itself as a syllable. And then we have iti, which is a plus affix, so it's going to get broken up. So let's break up the word and see how it works. We're going to go vowel consonant slash, vowel consonant slash, and then vowel consonant slash. Now we know that m is its own affix, so we're going to put our slash. This a is the end of our base word, and this affix is going to be a separate affix. And the iti can get broken up, so we're going to just go vowel consonant slash. So itim anompali is to read. So if I could say, I'm reading itim anompalili, I'm reading, or holiso itim anompalili, I'm reading a book. Okay, so this was kind of a long video. I hope you were able to hang in there. But if you learn to do the basic syllable division, it's going to help you a whole lot. And once you identify heavy and light syllables, that will even help you more. And once you learn rhythmic lengthening, even more. And finally, if you learn about the affixes. Okay, so look forward to talking to you next time and telling you more tips on Chickasaw language learning. Chipisa lacho.